back to Watch Box Studios. We are in Dubai. This is amazing. CQ the Watch Guy on location in Dubai, Watchbox Studios. I have the esteemed pleasure and honor, I must say, to be here with Robert and Balázs of Fratello Watches. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Thank you. Very good.
How are you doing?
I'm amazing. You know, it's Dubai Watch Week. It just kicked off last night. It was a little bit of a wet start, we could say. It was fun. You know, I saw Phil Dufour out there smoking his pipe. He's like a legend, you know, just relaxing, and so many great people and a fun time. So before we get into it, maybe a brief little introduction about yourselves and the Fratello Watches blogging community.
Yeah. Well, I'm Robert Jan in full. I started Fratello Watches in 2004. So this is our 15th anniversary, basically.
Oh, awesome.
And I started it as a thing on the side. I was bored at work. I had a job in IT. And you know how it goes. And you get bored quickly.
Yeah, IT stuff.
And at the time, blogs were upcoming, and but not on watches. There was no blog on watches yet. So I decided to start one, actually. I was always involved in the online watch community, Time Zone, Watch You Seek, those kind of platforms. And but the thing is that at those platforms you saw a lot of things repeating. So every other few weeks or months you saw the same questions, same topics, same threads going on and on.
A lot of people didn't want to dive deep. Like I love those old forums, Time Zone. Like when I started in the industry, I was on, and you're so correct that not everybody is used to the old school forum style that we're doing. So not everybody wants to dig down.
No, they just post a question and you see the same things.
Exactly.
And I thought, okay, I want to start something myself where I can write a column or do a FAQ on things that I got a lot of questions from people about certain watches, and I thought if I can do something on a platform where I can already answer these questions.
Exactly.
So that's how Fratello started in 2004. Just installed WordPress version 1.0.
Oh man,
the original. And it went on, the original, and it went on, and it started with a few hundred users in the first few months, and then it really hit off, and now we're around 1 million views a month. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's nice, and today it's like a full-time thing. And a few years ago, I quit my job at an investment bank, and I started to do this full-time.
Oh, congratulations!
And, thank you. And the team got bigger. Today here we have Balázs as well. He joined in 2014. Yep. And so we have a big team with around 10 contributors. And we have some people in back office and so on, and it's really cool.
That's amazing.
Living the dream.
Yeah, you know, I was just saying that, like, I really can't believe I'm in Dubai right now. You know, I would never imagine in all my years I'd be here talking. You know, I'm a fan of your blogs as well. I'm actually doing an interview with you, and it just goes back to like following your passion and how something as, you know, small, and some people they might even say insignificant sometimes as a watch, has such a deep community. And just by you seeing the need, I think in 2004 there's really nobody doing a blog like yours back then. I don't think. No,
I think we were one of the first, and there were forums, there were platforms, and some selling platforms, but not really a blog where people, just vented their opinion or. But in the meantime, it transferred from a blog into a magazine. Yeah. We're now a magazine online. I think the definition of blog changed through the years. Yes. I think blogging is now more like Twitter and Instagram, perhaps.
This is true.
And now it's a magazine with fresh content every day. We try to publish a few times a day.
Awesome.
We keep it easy in the weekends, just 1 or 2 posts, and that's it. But
better than doing IT, right?
Yeah, much better, much better. And these days I have to reach out to IT people to help me
out
these days.
You're on the other side, right?
So no, it's a lot of fun. And like you say, back in the day it was a niche, but it still is a niche. We think. We live in the watch industry, we live watches, it's our passion, but still a lot of people out there don't think that we're nuts, we're crazy. It's just a watch.
Yeah.
And but I also think it's like a bit of a virus in a positive way
100%.
That influence people, because when I met my wife, she didn't have a clue, and now even she has, when she sees people at work or meets people at work, one of the first things she does, look at what people are wearing. Yeah. And it's very contagious.
It is that little bug, you know, you get bitten by it and you learn, and then you get deep into, you know, there's so many angles, right? It could be maybe you love history. Yeah. Maybe, you know, I'm a photographer and I love mechanics and engineering, and when you really go deep into like how, you know, this will sound weird, but like we as humans kind of define time, right? And to me, a watch is the human spirit just going forward and trying to be accurate and define the thing that we defined in the beginning. And especially when in the mechanical form, it is us trying to get to that perfect accuracy, pure mental power. Sometimes imagine when they did perpetual calendars with no computers, or even when they had to use like a supercomputer, and like now we have CAD systems. It all began with just somebody being a visionary, somebody pushing forward, and, you know, saying, why not? Why not, you know, make a pocket watch? Why not put it on your wrist?
True, and I think time is the most precious thing we have. It's very cliche, but I think that's the case.
True.
And then I think it's very nice to capture time or to track time on something that's precious. And not that it's gold or platinum, whatever, but precious to you. That can be a swatch, that can be a G-Shock, that can be anything. And I think that's important. And it's the same with writing. I hardly write these days with a pen. So if I write with a nice fountain pen.
Why not?
I think these things make it enjoyable and
I think it's sad they don't teach, like in the US, they're not teaching cursive anymore. And I have horrible handwriting, but it is nice to pick up a nice pen and actually practice a little bit, because it is sort of a last art. So I guess, you know, for both of you, question, what was the watch or the instance that kind of sparked your love of watches? What made you say, wow, I really, there's something here more that I want to dig into?
I don't remember if I ever had this one specific watch. I remember when I was a kid, I got my first, I think it was maybe a Casio from my mom when I was like maybe 7, 8 years old, 8, 9 years old. And then I, for my first money, I bought my first Casio watch, which I still have at my parents' house. And then it just, to me, it was a slow process of evolving from, you know, that watch to a mechanical watch. A watch that doesn't have a battery. How cool is that? And this thing just spins around and you don't need a battery. You don't need, because before that, you know, your Casio watch, every 2 years you change the battery.
Exactly, don't even think about it.
Right, and I was in high school, I think in the first or second grade in high school, so maybe 15, 16, and the guy had a swatch with like an automatic swatch. It's like, it doesn't need a battery. That's cool. It's just, you know, and then you're interested in it, you're interested in mechanics, as you guys said, and how it works and why, and because back then you kind of needed a watch. Now you don't need a watch. Because back then in like 2000, 1999, 2000, there were no cell phones around, and you know, life was a bit different than it is now.
Maybe a little bit slower too, right?
A little bit slower, you know, and informations and LCD screens were not everywhere at the time. But now it's, you really don't need it. But we don't wear one because we need it. We wear one because
we appreciate it.
We appreciate it, we love it, what it represents. I'm very conscious with my watches. I always take certain watches to, like, for example, when I travel, there's always watches that I take because I want to have that memory connected to that watch in 5, 10, 15 years. And it's also, you know, like a double-edged sword, because I know I'm never going to sell that watch because it was with me there and there and there.
Exactly.
But that's just how it is. So I think we appreciate it, we love it, and we're conscious about it. And for me, it was just this.
A little slow snowball. That's awesome. What about yourself? Was there a moment or a watch that started?
More or less the same path as Balázs. I'm from '77, so I grew up with Casio, with digital watches.
Yeah, you had the good stuff.
Casio and later on Swatch, and Swatch Automatic, I should say. I think it's 92 or 93 that I had my first Swatch Automatic. And then it was in '98 I graduated, and I got a Omega Constellation. And I got it because the entire family had Omega Constellations.
Oh, really? So you just
So my father had one, and my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and of course my Constellation was a modern one, so very different from the pipe hand Constellation.
Yeah, I was about to say they had the
but still, I got those later. But that was really, I think, the first watch that sparked it for me. That I thought, oh, this is super nice, and I want to know more about it, learn more about it. And then, obviously, I quickly came to the Speedmaster. And that was really the first watch that I bought myself. I sold it's a story I told often, but I sold my car for it. I really wanted to have that watch. And,
really?
Yeah. And was a nice car.
What was the car?
205 GTI from Peugeot. A very small, fast car at the time. But I was a student and I didn't really need a car, I reckoned. And so I sold it off and bought a Speedmaster and a Caliber 321, which at the time was not that cheap. But not for me, because I was a student, and that really hit it off, and that sparked my interest in the Speedmaster. I started collecting Speedmasters basically, and I started to be more online, writing about watches, and not only about Omega, but all sorts of brands basically.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think the Fratello family has a special relationship with the Speedmaster, correct?
Yeah, because the person I purchased my first Speedmaster from in '99 he had a shop in The Hague in the Netherlands, and I went into a shop and because I saw a Speedmaster in the window, and so we started talking to each other, and it appeared that he still is a Speedmaster collector himself.
Wow.
So he brought the box and showed me the Speedmasters, and we got a good relationship, and he's now a writer at Fratello. Years later,
The circle continues, right?
So I think with the entire team, I think we have like 100 Speedmasters, because we have a lot of Speedmaster collectors on board.
Nice.
And I always say I don't collect watches in general. I collect Speedmasters, and besides that, I buy the watches that I really like and that I wear and so on. But
Nice.
as a collector, I'm really focused on one model basically, which is the Speedmaster.
Nothing wrong with that, really, especially being able to travel, and we're blessed to be in this industry that we do get a little bit extra access and seeing all these really nice models and collectors like the person you're speaking about, who really truly collected like from the beginning, and you can really see all the references. It's really amazing. Let's do a quick wrist check. You know, I have a Panerai PAM 562 on, titanium 8-day brown dial. Let's see a little bit what we have today.
I'm wearing a Grand Seiko.
Nice, classy.
Yeah, the high beat, with a high beat movement and a GMT. But what was most important for me was the shape of the case. It's a 44 GS case, very classic, and I love it. There's no other brand that make a case like this.
And Grand Seiko is getting stronger and stronger day by day. It's such a great community as well.
Yeah, and I feel that the interest is really genuine. It's not a social media push, or it's not pushed by hype. No, I think people who went to Japan to see it, or go to a Grand Seiko event or a boutique, I think once you see it, you really get it, and then I think you're...
Exactly, you slowly, again, the bug catches you, it bites you, and then you go down that path.
Exactly,
And what are you wearing today, Balázs?
I'm wearing a Rolex GMT 1675.
Oh, look at that patina.
This is from 1967. I have some more watches. I didn't bring them. I have a Speedmaster with me, obviously. I have a vintage chronograph. I have some new stuff, but I'm also into vintage chronographs and certain brands. So Robert Jan is into Speedmasters. I also have a good few Speedmasters, and Omegas in general. I think this was one of our common interests that kind of brought us together. Is the love for vintage Omegas and Speedmasters in general. But I love other vintage, so I have some vintage chronographs, and this one is my only Rolex. Yeah, and this is the only Rolex that I ever wanted, to be honest, because of the color. I always loved the Pepsi, and I thought that it would be pretty cool to have one, and I was lucky enough to get one a few years ago from a good friend, and who helped me source it. And it just so happens that now it's gone up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of, even with Speedmasters, you've seen, like, before not everybody was chasing, and now the market is what it is, because you really can't find it, or collectors have realized. And I think especially Rolex and Speedies, because they're real tool watches, so many people use them as tools, and their dads or their granddads use them as tools. So when you get that watch, when you inherit that watch, the emotions are there. Just like I don't know if I could pay you a price for you to give me that watch, So it's one of those things where there's so many that are made, but there's so many that are just kept because, like, you know what? I have so much memories and emotions. Goes back into the passions that we spoke about.
And they just simply work, I mean, you look at a Speedmaster from I don't know, find it in the attic or your grandparents. It's probably gonna work. It might need a service, but it's gonna work. The chronograph's gonna run. Same with the Rolex. People bought that in the 60s and 70s because it was probably not cheap, but it worked. Yeah. It got the job done, and that's what they needed it for. Whereas now it's obviously a bit different, especially if we talk about new Rolex. We just had this panel earlier about waiting list and who gets on the waiting list. But yeah, they were just tool watches that worked, and people bought them, and they just carried on working for
people didn't collect at the time, I think. Right. Perhaps a few exceptions, but people just bought it as their
pocket watches.
Exactly.
As their only watch, and that's what they wore their entire life.
Yeah.
And they always worked. My grandfather, like I said, he had an Omega Constellation, and he worked for like 42 years every single day. Yeah. And I only wear it for Christmas, and when I pick it up from the safe, it starts to run.
They're
unreal,
ready to go.
The movements were awesome.
It's amazing. Like, sometimes you get it in, and like we inspect it, and it's like we could service it, but it's like it's perfect. You can give a little. It just goes amazing. So we got a few more minutes. You want to quickly run through what you have in the roll?
I brought some watches with me. Very diverse, you could say.
I love the definition of diverse, by the way.
Yeah, I think this is the definition of diverse. So my latest purchase is the G-Shock, the GMW B5000, from the top of my head.
Very nice.
Like I said, I grew up with Casio watches, and in '83 there was the first G-Shock. I don't have that. I have the 20th anniversary one that I bought in 2003, and I think this is one of the versions that is in that line of the 5000 series. It's my favorite design of this is a G-Shock for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. All metal case,
and it's
these
all
are
metal,
so
and it's nice, and it has a multi-band, and it's cool. You don't need the manual if you grew up with some Casios, you know how it works. This was my first Rolex. It's a Datejust 1600, so smooth bezel. Normally it came with an oyster bracelet. Mine came with a Jubilee, and I think because at the time in 70s, early 70s, you could buy these watches at a retailer and could say, oh, I want to have swap the oyster for a Jubilee for me, and they did. And so I don't know if mine came with an oyster or was delivered with a Jubilee to the client, but yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's 36. I don't wear it that often, but it's a nice piece. And then, of course, from this year, the Apollo 11 50th anniversary model in gold. Like I said, I'm a Speedmaster collector. I have a vintage gold Speedmaster as well. And I saw this and I thought, oh, that's a lot of money. But so I go for the steel one. They did two. I go for the steel one, and then I saw it in the flesh, and I said, nah.
It sings.
I need this.
It speaks to you. What I love about this edition when it came out is it really was very true to the original. And the character really, it really speaks to you and it really shines through.
Purists will probably disagree, but I think this is like the Godfather 2. It's better than the first.
Yeah.
It's what you see with the vintage gold Speedmaster from '69 is that they age differently. You see that the engraving, I don't know, it's different. They color different. I don't know. And I think this will be more consistent. Of course, it has a very good movement. It's just very nicely done. The bracelet is awesome. It's very true to the original. It tapers down to 40 millimeters, very small.
Yeah.
When I saw the specs, I thought, but when you have it on the wrist,
it's perfect.
It's amazing. So I almost wear this as a daily watch.
Yeah, I saw you. I think when we met, you
had
that.
I had it on.
Perfection.
And so this is my the small collection that I brought to Dubai Watch Week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think the music there is kind of playing us out a little bit.
Yeah.
So if we have one quick note on a new collector, if you had something you tell a new collector, what would you say? One quick tip.
Buy Speedmaster.
And vintage.
And I would say buy what you love. Guys, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you
Likewise.
so much.
Thanks, man.
I'm sure we'll see each other again. And thank you guys for watching. And keep tuning in to Watchbox Studios and more amazing things coming out of Dubai Watch Week.